Hi there, everybody. My name is Bruce Starr. I want to welcome you all to this show. It is going to be a fascinating show. I have two guests with me today. The first guest is right next to me, right here, out of Jupiter, Florida, and it's Darlis. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Bruce.
And we also have clear across the country in a place called Tucson, Arizona, complete with a floating Merkaba, we have Deb Peterson. So I want to welcome both of you ladies to the show. And Deb, let's start with you. I would love to know more about you. Can you tell us about you and sort of how we got to be doing this show together? What in the world do you do, or out of this world do you do that brought us here together?
Okay, well, first, thank you for doing this, Bruce. It's an honor. Oh, okay. Just briefly, I came in awake and knew that I had a soul purpose that was different. And like I say, I knew I would not ever have kids or have the traditional life because I was meant to do my spiritual mission. And at age 27, had a walk-in experience of basically my ET self from my planet came into this body. And then after that, it just started blossoming that I started remembering who I really am. And it's a matter of remembering I was a shaman in many lifetimes. I remembered my galactic connection and that I am a gatekeeper, being able to travel through different dimensions. And my mission here is to help Mother Earth go through the Stargate for ascension by anchoring in higher galactic ascension energies into the planet to help Mother Earth and humanity.
Pretty darn wonderful. That sounds great. And Darlis, could you tell us a little bit about you before we kind of continue here?
Sure. Hi, everyone. The first order of business I think that I really had in coming into my spiritual awakening was nearly 30 years ago when I came into recovery. It was I was a drug abuser for 20 years, and God tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, girlie, we got work to do. What are you doing here?" And boy, that was it. So I was on my mission immediately after getting clean, and I knew that I wanted to help others with that. So that kind of began my opening, so to speak, my awakening. And so I ended up becoming an interventionist and helping a therapist and helping many people achieve their own recovery. And then shortly into that, it was to really help people get on their spiritual path, just like you did. And so that's been a big calling of mine. And then in 2008, 2007, I got called to Belize, Central America, which looked like I was there to run the company's only treatment center, the country's only treatment center. And what happened is we were situated on a piece of land that needed to be cleared. And thus began my energetic dowsing career, so to speak.
Yeah, pretty darn fascinating. I have a feeling I'm going to be in for learning a lot of stuff I didn't know about before. What do you think, Deb?
We have a lot we can share with you and with the rest of the world. Be glad to share.
Okay, great. So let me ask some of the questions here that I'd like to get to. Spiritual, metaphysical happenings, trainings. What of those has really helped you each the most get into this new kind of position that you're in life? Deb, let's start with you.
Okay. Wow. I would say, again, it was basically open up and remembering who I really am as a divine being of light and remembering my past. I remember being a priest in Atlantis and working with geometries, the sacred geometries like this angelic Merkaba. I remembered being in ancient Egypt working with Thoth as one of his students and the other beings, Anubis, and working in the hierarchy of the Egyptian energies. And also again remembered being a shaman in Aborigine Australia and South America. And because of all of that, it helped me remember my spiritual gifts of being a shaman, being able to see, feel, and work with different energies. And have been trained in shamanic practice, but actually most of my teachers and important teachings have been directly from spirit. For 4 years, these blue-ray beings of light showed up with my big 8-foot Merkaba and taught me new lessons about light body work and ascension activations, which I am just now beginning to share with the rest of the world, this brand new information. So a lot of it is, like I say, direct experience. I've been connected with my ET origin and taken up on the ship and connect with them, plus being able to work with earth energies, being able to see the energies. And I do like deviceless dowsing, or galactic dowsing, I call it, as just using the body and the energy field in replace of a lot of the tools. And so that's really helpful in this new dynamic of dowsing work that is coming about. So it's just been a progression of, like I say, mostly remembering and direct spiritual guidance as the most important teachings first to shift me into who I am now.
That's great. And Darlis, tell us about you.
Well, I had learned Akashic Records, which was my greatest tool into getting into higher realms early on. I've been doing that work for about 12 years, and I teach that work. And I learned so much from my students coming to that work. And then I formally learned dowsing, which that gave me some more tools to learn to like work with the land. And the higher ups kind of laugh at me and say, Darlis, we'll let you have your toys, but you really don't need them. It's about connecting with the energy. And I think that years ago when Deb and I started working together, that's when I really learned to trust my own intuition, trust what information was coming through me from the land spirits, from many different realms also, really starting to work with ET realm in a different way, the inner earth realms. And Deb and I just had such great experiences together. And what's come out of that is each trip we take, I feel like there is a huge deepening every trip we take, which has been really exciting.
Exciting stuff. So what I'd like to learn now about you guys is that you've both traveled, extensively. You've traveled maybe around the world. I would love to hear from each of you where you've spoken and where you've shared your gifts and knowledge. We'll start with you.
Okay. I am an international presenter. I spoke 2 years ago in India at the Women's Economic Forum, International Forum. There was 109 countries represented, 6,000 people were in attendance, and it was a 7-day conference. And I was pleasantly surprised. I had no idea when I went there what that was going to look like, except the topics that they gave me to speak on really resonated with what I do in the world and this work. And I was so pleased about that. And I was really astounded to arrive there, and everyone was wide awake, and everyone knew the importance of us connecting within ourselves and the earth at this time to help us through this transition. So that was wonderful. I've been to England several times and worked with Sacred Initiative Journeys. I was with their assistant the last time we went there in 2014. So taking people to sacred sites. Oh, Deb was on that trip too. So we went to sacred sites and really aided with that whole trip. It was such a deepening for the work that we were doing. Just not visiting sacred sites, but really tuning in asking if there was something needed or if we needed something from that sacred site, and really doing great work with all of that. Locally, I presented all over the country. I am part of Deb 2, part of the Sacred Evolutionary Dowsing team. Deb and I participated with this international team for the last 2 years. We've, as a group, done work remotely all over the country and out of the country, which has been exciting, and it looks like that work's going to take on a new journey here in the future. So I think that covers it pretty well.
That's great. Deb?
Okay, you're asking about the adventures. Oh, that started about 17 years ago for me, being actually in 1987 was probably the first one. I sent to Sedona and didn't know it at the time. That was at the harmonic convergence that was happening. And so in Sedona, I was able to be there with the energies. And then most of my adventures up to that have been solo. Was sent on a personal journey to Yucatan, Mexico, a couple times by myself, and wound up reconnecting with the ancient Mayan energies, remembering I used to be there. And the temples would communicate with me and was having shamanic experiences. And so knew that was, I was connecting on an international level of the ancient energies. And in '94 went to Egypt, and that was majorly remembering that the temples, the pyramids, I recognized them and they would communicate with me also, and connected with those again, because we used to be really connected in ancient Egypt. And then would just travel wherever I needed to be. They sent me to Chaco Canyon several years back to help reconnect Chaco Canyon with the ancient Anasazi energies, and I brought a medium-sized Merkaba like spinning up here, and it fit perfectly into an opening of an ancient ruin and activated an interdimensional portal when it was placed there. So that really started snowballing the knowing that I am a galactic interface. And there's also in the Rocky Mountains, there's a mountain called Terra Toma. And it is unique. It's different than the other mountains. It has a bowl in front of it, a bowl feature to it. And Spirit said it is an antenna for receiving galactic energies to help the planet. And they told me at that time that I was like the walking counterpart of Terra Toma, being able to, wherever I go, my body is the conduit for the galactic energies. And I was sent down to the Southwest and had a big bird, a sort of an angelic, huge spirit being that's about the size of a Volkswagen bug that would travel with me. And this also being came on me and Darlis' first trip through the deep South, where it would travel on top of the car and basically help anchor in galactic energies. So in England, sent to Stonehenge, and while there, like never knowing what's going to happen at any of these sites, just open up a pure heart and ask Spirit, how can I be of assistance? And at Stonehenge, anchored in the energies from the star Regal. And I had never even heard of it till I got back home, which are high ascension energies. And from there at the other sites and going to the Ohio Mounds and at the Serpent Mound, which is very shamanic, and because of my shamanic upbringing, I touched the mound and could feel the serpent move under my hand. And Darlis felt this too, that we felt it. And so many remembrances, direct activations of these sites. I mean, I've got a book to come and I'm writing these on the blog. It's like surreal to me, these wondrous adventures that are happening, and they're getting more powerful as time goes on.
Well, I have to tell you that I'm going to have to watch this video again before. I'm going to try to put myself in there. I'm going to have to watch this video again to get any of this information, because I thought I knew a lot about this kind of stuff, but this is really something else that I'm learning. And I can't wait to listen to this video again later. Darlis, what would you like to add
Yeah.
to, now that you've heard Deb's experiences, what would you like to add to this?
Well, we have a lot of similarities of just being wherever we're called, just to say yes. So in 2014, I was called to Africa, and Africa was not on my list. I didn't get it, but I just said yes to it. And two of the things that I was really supposed to work on there were the Gorilla Nation, which was really in trouble population-wise, and Lake Victoria, which is the water supply for 5 different countries in Africa, and it was being polluted really poorly. So I was directed on how to do the ceremony, and there had been devastation near the gorillas. So when we got to the other side of the country and I went to the gorillas, I did a whole ceremony for them. I asked, would they recognize my light when I went to visit them in the wild the next day? And there was a big mother gorilla that would not stay away from me. That the guides that were leading us were getting nervous because every time I turned around, she would follow me. But I was never afraid. I just felt her sweet energy, and she was just seeing my light, and I had already known that. So that was really exciting. And Egypt too, such a great connection. An Isis temple. I was told in Isis temple that I worked with Isis in the day, and I would help initiatives move on to their next spiritual level. And that really resonated with me because it feels like that's what I do today in this lifetime. So that was an incredible trip. And then Deb and I's trips, our very first one, from Florida to Colorado was frankly pretty exhausting, and I was not used to that level of energy, and I think I wasn't being aware that I had to release that energy and just let it move through me. And since then, we did a lot of work on the Trail of Tears, and we had a lot of help with us on that trip, but there was a lot of, in those battlegrounds, a lot of hurt had taken place. And we were really there to help release all of that, to help relieve souls back to the light if they so desired. Deb was opening portals in these cemeteries, and we were just holding the light for them and telling them where they could go. And that was an amazing trip. And having Big Bird along was amazing. We were also told that the car behind us, I had been directed to buy a brand new car 2 days before we took this trip, which didn't make sense. I had so much on my plate already to go buy a new car. It must be green. It must have certain specifics. And I told the car company, if you can meet all these specifics, then yep, I'll buy a new car. So when we checked in, we didn't even leave Palm Beach County on this trip. To Big Bird came in. Deb's an amazing channeler. So grandmother came through, started channeling, and said that we were leaving wherever this car went, a big green swath of healing energy was following us. And sometimes we were taken out of our way and not such great neighborhoods and larger cities. And we were like, why are we here? And so, oh, that's right, we're here to leave this energy. So that was really exciting. And really through working together, I think one of our, and I'll speak for both of us, one of our greatest go-tos is every single day when we get in, we check up in with Divine and get our assignment for that day. And really staying in the day, where we're to go, what we're to do, what's happening. And it's been really exciting.
Deb, anything else you'd like to add to that?
Yes, I have noticed that the sites that are being led to, and the early sites that I also went to by myself, was there seems to be a few different things that Spirit wants to show us. One is that a site may need healing, may need energetic reactivation, and that's one. And also other sites, they are so powerful, they don't need any of our quote help, but they are just like presenting themselves and going, here, feel this energy. And also the side effect is that when you're physically there, you are allowing your light body to accept their codes of energetics and then you are holding them in your body. So the next place you go to, the next sacred site, I always ask Spirit and the spirit of that site, I say, I have these codes from all these places I've been to. Use any of them and let them filter through my body into the land there if it be of benefit. And also another thing, we noticed that some of these places, we don't need to heal them. They're really in good shape. And it's more of they give us energy back. They're giving us a reward, a blessing, and saying like, okay, here's what you did for doing the work for us. We're giving you a blessing of this high energy, of these neat experiences, something like that. So it's like we're noticing many different things showing up because we are just open to receive whatever there is, with no ego, with not getting in our way of our own mind thinking, but just listening and opening to Spirit, Creator, and the spirit of the land of what it may need.